Today's episode of the Feral Podcast is brought to you today by Talbot's Tap Room and Terrace. Talbot's Tap Room and Terrace, 787 Mercer Grove City Road, Mercer, PA. Dining hours are as follow: Monday and Tuesday closed, Wednesday and Thursday 12 to 9, Friday and Saturday 12 to 10, and Sunday 12 to 8. For reservations, please call 724 269 7687. That's Talbot's Tap Room and Terrace, 787 Mercer Grove City Road, Mercer, PA. And now let's start the show.
Welcome to season 2, episode 16 of the Feral Podcast. And I am the leader of the United. Matter of fact, my man Rich Stack said, let's go
Universal.
worldwide. So I am the leader of the Universal Ball Head Nation, the one and only mayor, the landlord himself, Mont P. And to my left, we have the phenomenal, beautiful, all knowing Dr.
Kimberley Richards.
Yes.
Yes.
Amen. Amen.
It's a pleasure to be here with you both. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
and it,
Thank
it,
you.
it is an honor. It is an honor to have you here on the show. And of course, this is DJ Rich Stacks, King of the Big Backs. You got to excuse me. This one is a big one for me because Dr. Richards is lightweight responsible, her and a slew of other people, but mainly you for getting us on this course that we're on right now. Um, we're going to get into that later on the interview, but how was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty good. I got a chance to see some furrow football
Uh,
kick off up there at stadium, the Big East Sports Complex. Of course, state of the art, the best football stadium and field in the Tenango Valley. Yes, I said it because it's true.
Indubitably.
You know what I mean? And we also said we got something new we gonna bring out. I'm speaking SPACs. That's right. That's let's push
Facts.
together because that's speaking facts. So it's SPACs. That's SPACs about our field. But yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't the end result we desired. Pearl did not win. We lost to Hickory Hornets, but it was a good game, good atmosphere. Both teams played their heart out. Like I said, exceptional game. So I got a chance to enjoy that, along with some other football games. I'm a big football fan, so
Yeah.
I pretty much spent my weekends watching football, man. Miss Kim, excuse me, I gotta get Doctor
Doctor.
Miss Kim. How was your weekend?
My weekend, whenever I'm in Faro, it's good. So it's so wonderful to be in a place where people hold your history
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
and that you can walk past trees and know that you have walked past that tree all of your life
Yeah.
and it is still standing.
Yes.
So my weekend has been wonderful. I've been reconnecting with people. I'm here for the class of 1974
Oh, 74.
50th high school reunion.
Fat
It's a
shout out to
blessing.
Furrow Class of 74. Fat shout out to Furrow Class of 74.
Yes, so we
Yes.
had a wonderful icebreaker
Mm-hmm.
last night,
I seen some of that.
and
Wonderful.
it was a great reunion, and I'm looking forward to tonight.
I'm
Oh, yes.
sure. I'm sure. Don't hurt nobody down.
All right.
Right. But y'all make sure y'all shut the town down like Uncle Furrow
Oh, like
High alumni do. Shut it down. That's
oh,
right. Gold class
74 was,
74. Let's go.
74 was a very good year. That was when I entered this portal right here. Like 74. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't born till 75, so they were still courting, talking, trying to get it, but I appeared 75.
yes,
Well, that weekend, just chilled out mainly, but during the week leading up to the show, been real busy at both jobs, but got the blessing of getting a financial blessing from one of my jobs and
That's good.
giving honor to the universe for it.
yes,
I'm totally thankful, but
Increase is always good.
yes, but I'm trying to live the life that my grandpa lived, that hard work,
yeah,
goes to the grindstone, get her done type attitude,
Yes, sir.
and it's finally starting to pay off. Fat shout out to Miss T, Miss Tamika Ross, for being one of the best supervisors in the business. And fat shout to my man Tony Hightower, uh, Applebee's, one of the dopest managers. Yeah, I got the pleasure to work for. So you know what I'm saying. It's real good this weekend.
It's always such a blessing to work for good people. When you got good people backing you at your jobs and you know that, and you feel confident, you know, driving up to the job, going in there, knowing you have a good, successful, easy day, or sometimes, easy, but you know, it makes it all worth the while going
Oh
to
yeah,
punch the
most
clock.
definitely.
So happy that you working for some good people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Much blessings to you, brother.
thank you, thank you.
Much. And Miss Kim, they said that it was one of your classmates that was streaking naked up Romer last night. It was reported. I don't know. I
What?
don't know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Y'all going a
Where are
little
you
bit too
getting your
hard,
information
1970.
from?
Okay, I made it up.
Alleged.
Allegedly.
That's right. That's right. Miss Kim
But
tried to.
that was the area of streaking in the 70s. There were lots of streakers.
Hey, oh wow.
Yeah, there were lots of streakers. I won't say where,
Okay, 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 okay.
but nationally, all over football games, concerts,
True.
streaking
True.
was a thing.
Yes, it was. But I was at a furrow football game one Friday night, and yeah, I'm gonna say his name. It's legendary. Anthony Hyman. It was homecoming night, and he like, no, it was senior night, and he ran across the field, and rest his soul, Soupy Campbell and them like had to chase him down and then they're tackling him. But it was so hilarious because when he ran across the field and they got him and apprehended him, they was taking him off the field. He was yelling, "Mom, come help me!" And she was shaking her head like, "Anthony, you shouldn't have ran across that field." And you continue to conduct business on the field for senior night. Oh, good times though. Memorable times at Furrow High.
Yes.
Yes. Hey, cuz. Good morning to you, cousin. Much love. Thank you for always tuning in. And thank you to everyone that tunes in faithfully to the Pharaoh Podcast. And here at the Pharaoh Podcast, we always want to motivate, inspire, educate,
Educate.
and entertain.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, subscribe, like, and share to the show and engage and comment. We comment back. Power to the people. When you see me, you
We
see
see you.
you. And
Yes.
that's a testament to
You see
who I'm
me.
sitting right next to.
Love that.
That's
That's
right.
that's that's some of the knowledge you imparted on us as youngsters. Going down to Southwest Gardens, it wasn't only a place where you can go to be entertained. It was a place to go get knowledge, check up on your health.
Yep.
That's crucial to our community because the African American community deals with so many health issues
Yes.
brought on by systemic factors that we learn due to no fault of our own. But we would take what the garbage we was given to make greatness.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Speaking of garbage, we have to assemble and get out
Yes.
and go vote. We have to go vote. Get out there and vote. Because he brought up garbage.
Yeah, we
Trump
gotta keep
app,
we gotta
Trump
keep the garbage out the
automatically came to mind. He brought up garbage. I'm like, speaking of garbage, ew. So yeah, let's go ahead and do our due diligence and hit those polls. And all the older ones, I encourage you to, if you have a young adult in your house that's voting age, encourage them, tap into them, and even if you have to grab them by the arm and get them out there to the polls with you. You know what I mean? It's just that important.
Yeah, it's like the big election, bro.
Yes, it is.
45. Speaking of 45, I refuse to say his name. I tried not to
Yes.
say his name. But 45 is currently being sued by a slew of entertainers for playing their music without their consent.
Right.
Now, some of the songs that were played by artists like Rihanna
Mhm.
and others and such were being paid. He paid for it, but the artist has the first right of refusal. If that artist does not want their representation of their art being presented
That's right.
in a matter of fashion, which they don't want, they can decline.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Not only that, being lighthearted, the initiatives that the Republican Party, the MAGA Party, now have going to be detrimental not only to us and our community, but everybody. Education is about to get defunded. They're going to pour more money in the defense to where we don't really need that much money for defense. We need to educate the children a little bit better. So
Right.
it is a crucial election season. And please make sure y'all get out there and vote.
It's really a cultural attack that when we think about the images and the messages, that's why it's so good that the entertainers are
Hmm.
taking a position,
Yes, ma'am.
because when the singers sing it and the dancers dance it and the poets write it, you have a movement.
Yes.
Yes.
And we have to make sure that the messages that we are giving out is about a culture of upliftment. And that's
Yes.
why it's such an honor to be here with you, because the way you all uplift Pharaoh and uplift the culture of loving who we are as Black people
Yes, ma'am.
and embracing who we are as Black people is what this generation needs.
Yeah.
So I just underscore your plea, your encouragement to get for us to get out the vote, because it's about
Yes.
a cultural attack.
Yes.
Yes.
It can't be used anymore against our own selves.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. And viewing it on the social media, I'm seeing that there's a narrative that's out there that's saying that it's Black men tearing Kamala down because of the past when she was, they said she got blood on her hands from putting a whole bunch of Black men in behind bars. Yes and no. I beg to differ
It's a
because
false
once
narrative.
again, what about accountability? What did you do to get yourself in that position, Black man? And two, she was part of a government at that time where that was the narrative and they had to push. She had somebody that was behind her that was,
Right,
had their hand on her shoulder that was,
right.
pushing her to do what you need to do for us because we put you here. The people voted for you, whatever. But yeah, just know that. So it's just politics of it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely like getting crazy as far as I see.
Well, see, one of the things that happens is I find we don't have a systemic analysis.
Yes.
We have an individual analysis. And
Hmm.
until we understand the system of
Right.
politics,
Right.
we have to be clear it ain't a do right system.
Not at all.
Right.
The system's not a do right system.
Right.
And you get great people, but you can't expect great people to go in a system that ain't a do right system.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
It's do right. And then we put them in those positions and we leave them and think that they could do it by themselves, and they can't.
But see, what our community fails to realize at times is the president only can do it for 8 years total. The power is in the Congress. The power is in the Senate and the House. They can do. Mitch McConnell.
And how do we get the Senate and the House?
Yes,
We put them in
we put them
office,
in
Right.
office.
right?
Right.
Those off-year elections, or not off-year, those are the major elections to me, because that's who you
Right.
decide who you're putting in your local government, in
Right.
your state government, to get initiatives passed, and that's what we got to focus on more than anything. But right now, this presidential election, we got to show up.
Like y'all was saying, we got to go back to voting on the judges. We got to start from a lower level, but
Yes,
people ain't thinking about that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't think about that.
Right.
A lot of people just talk, but if they get down to the root of how the government is set up, yeah, we got to go back, and vote, make sure it's the right judges, governors, senators, all that stuff is in place for all that stuff to line up. And also, Democrat, Republican,
we're
they
independent.
all have
I'm just saying,
an agenda. Just make sure the person that you're voting for on any level is going to address at least a
some of
quarter
our
or an eighth
concerns.
of what you need in your community and people. And just look at it as that. Because no person in no government position is going 100% do what they say they're going to do or think. Some of us has got to chalk it up as long as they do just a piece of what we wanted as a people. We can check off a box because it's never going to be 100% right, like
You
we
can't.
all know.
Every 4 years they make promises. Most of them not going to
Yeah.
be. Especially 45 is made, and we're going to build a wall in Mexico, and they're going to pay for it. Pay for it?
Right.
If anything, he was getting, never mind, paid off the money and the stuff that was coming through. But that's just my theory. And hypothetically, I'm just saying that border wall didn't get built. You're making promises that you can't keep. But in my travels, working for my one job, I noticed more than anything, if you go to a rich neighborhood, a well-off neighborhood, you don't see political signs. When you come to urban neighborhoods or depleted neighborhoods, you don't really see political signs. Where you see the political signs is what's considered to be middle class,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the election is going to be won or lost at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then locally, we need to get up and vote because, like I said, I pay attention to what's going on Facebook and being said. Recently, um, when parents are dropping their kids off at the school, the police have been cracking down on the drop-offs and giving people tickets and here and there for, dropping off in the no drop-off zones. Um, People are mad and upset about that and saying that, okay, well, they shouldn't be doing that. Okay, well, yeah, they should because they got signs up there. So then they're saying, okay, well, why can't Furl, get buses and we go back to busing? This is a shame. Listen, you have to go to school board meetings, people. And then when it's something unsatisfactory or you don't see something consistently being done that don't feel the satisfactory, what you do? You either get up and go vote, or if you did that in the past and it's not, going well, you voted for someone that didn't feel was good, several people, you go and you put yourself to be voted in. We have to stop doing all this talking and put ourselves in position to make a difference, feral people. And that's just something I want to talk about with you guys. You know,
And
I
and
love
what you're
us.
saying is
Right,
so important
right.
because when you talk about the positions of judges or
Mhm.
senators,
Yes, ma'am.
those people are groomed at the school board and city council level.
Thank
Yep.
you.
They don't just run for judge
Thank you.
without having some history
Yeah.
of being of service in community. So it is at those school board and city council levels that you really get to learn the ins and outs of
Yes,
representation,
ma'am.
Hmm.
of understanding how to advance a bill, how to create policy, how to develop accountable relationships with
Yeah.
the people that you're representing.
Hmm.
I know my mother, Martha Richards and Rosetta Raxter. I could call women's names in this communities for the next 10 minutes.
Yes.
They had something called People in Action. Lucille Blue, Mary Harvey, and Scarborough, they would go to people's houses and pick them up. They would go to council meeting and they would have a meeting before the meeting. Betty Marshall, they would,
Phenomenal women.
yes, these women would, every city council meeting, they would be present. They would speak on issues. Election, they would, Southwest Gardens used to be a polling place.
I
Yes,
remember.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
they would come in and they would talk to not just Miss Richards, my mother, but they would talk to me, several others. All right, they come in with the sheet.
Hmm.
Now this is who's running, and not just for city, but for county and for state, right? And so to have a mechanism like that, they would volunteer. Miss Lucille Blue
Hmm.
would pick people up, and she wasn't looking for any church. Yes, her husband, Mr. Blue, was working and in the meal and would provide she was working herself,
Hmm.
but they would take that day off and make sure that people had a ride to vote because they understood the battle is won and lost at the local.
Local level.
Yeah.
Yes,
We're
ma'am.
seeing right now all over this country where books are being banned,
Yes.
where critical race theory, where wokeness, where people who
Hmm.
are talking about woke that are asleep,
Yeah.
people who are applying critical race theory
Hmm.
to a situation that is not even critical race theory, the way diversity, equity, and inclusion. I mean, I could go down the line, right? All those battles are being fought at the local
Local
level.
levels.
Right.
And Farrell has a history of organizing.
Yes,
There
ma'am.
was a time that back
See.
in the 70s, in the state capital of Harrisburg,
Hmm.
when the women that I've named and others were organizing to establish Southwest Gardens, state leaders said, "We're not going to do anything in Faro because nothing good ever comes out of Faro." And those women and men decided that they were going to show the state of Pennsylvania something different.
That's so.
And so Southwest Gardens was funded through something called the NPSS, Neighborhood Preservation and Supportive Services
Uh
Grant.
huh.
7 communities around the state of Pennsylvania were funded. Southwest Gardens was the only one that lasted over 20 years. It lasted 40 years, but the others
Sorry.
only lasted, you all right?
I just dropped my phone.
Okay, the
It's
others lasted.
knowledge.
All that phenomenal knowledge. Keep feeding us. Come keep going. Yes.
Excuse me, ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen.
So, so history and the history of organizing is something that Farrell has always had. The Mercer County branch of the NAACP home is where Farrell,
Farrell.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
formed only 9 years after the National started. Marcus Garvey, Mr. Kitty Hyatt, used to be the representative for Marcus Garvey's organization. We have a
What?
branch
Bruh.
right here in Farrell.
Oh.
That's right. One God, one aim, one destiny.
See, I don't
Marcus
know.
Garvey had a presence right here in Farrell. Mr.
Wow.
Hyatt, who was the director of the Carver Center
Mr.
when
Hyatt.
I was coming up.
Wow.
Hyatt was a part of that movement.
Wow.
So,
That
Twin City,
explains a lot.
It does. It explains a lot to
Twin
me.
City Elks. I mean, the Twin City Elks
Uh,
was the biggest elks in this part of the country. You had elks come from all over Western Pennsylvania, Ohio, New York, because there was a road. Miss Jakeaway
mhm.
had the majorettes, the basketball team. Um, Harry Boatner, Mr. Boatner, Hugo Washington, Debbie Dennis Thomas. I could name so many names that the Elks basketball team traveled all over.
Fat shout out to Twin City Elks and Furrow Club
Yes.
187. I'm a brother
Yes.
down there. Come
Yes,
on, Miss.
yes,
Give it to him.
Mr. Isaac Clark. These were
Give it to
men,
him.
the Eastern Stars. They had a youth group called the Felicitaires. Me and my dear friend, the late Clarice Flint, God rest her
Uh,
soul.
uh,
We were Felicitaires. Anita Jackson, who was one of the lead organizers of the class of '74 reunion. I mean, this
phenomenal.
was a wonderful place to grow up. And what's so good is to see that it is still a wonderful place to be sitting here and your son is the sound man.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
to see that legacy that you're still raising brilliant minds, committed young people who want to make a difference and know that a difference can be made and must be made.
How do you feel about coming back and seeing a lot of stuff tore down and all the stuff becoming new that they tore down and the revitalization is on the rise? How do you feel about that?
Lamont, that's a really wonderful question because I'm at a phase of my life that so my older sister Anna Richards, who everybody in Farrell knows is Penny, she is actually an elected official in Orange County, North Carolina. She's a
Uh-huh.
county commissioner.
Okay.
Um, she just moved from her home to a smaller home because she's downsizing.
Okay.
So I'm at a phase in my life where a number of people are downsizing. Roberta Harden, the classmate from Wheatland, Farrellite, she and I were talking. You get to a certain age, 68, close to 70 years old, and you're kind of like in that sandwich generation, right?
Mm,
Where you've got children and grandchildren,
Yes.
and many of you may have parents that you're also taking care of. And so you have all these records, all this paperwork, all this archive.
mm,
So I've been probably for the past 2 months just going through papers and deciding what needs to be burned, what are true archives that needs to be kept,
mhm.
what am I ambivalent about? What am I need to look at maybe a couple times? Because I like if I pick it up once, I'm not gonna pick it up twice.
Yeah.
It's either gonna go in this pile or it's going to the trash
Yeah,
or I'm giving it
yeah,
away.
yeah.
But I do have a little pile of things that I'm ambivalent about. I'm not sure what I want to do.
Mhm,
And I bring up that because it's kind of like Pharaoh, right? As I'm here in this very reflective time, 50th high school reunion, I can remember being a little girl thinking, 50 years out of high school?
Wow.
It's that long. My mother would say, baby, you just keep living and you'll
Yep,
see.
yep. That's one of the
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Just keep living.
Mhm.
Well, thank God, have lived long enough to get to a 50th reunion. But
Phenomenal.
everything must change. You can't hold on to everything, every piece of paper, every building.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can't hold on to them all.
Right.
What you can do is really see and reflect on what that has planted in you, what that's given you. So, do I have memories of Idaho being vibrant
Yes.
from high grade meat market to frantic? to the furniture store,
Yes,
Mm,
ma'am.
to Levine's,
GC
to
Murphy, all
GC
that.
Murphy, to
Yeah.
Columbia. Do I have
Mark's
memories of
Mark's
that?
music.
Mark's Music, where I took clarinet
Yes,
lessons.
ma'am.
Wow.
Do I have memories of that? Absolutely. Do I drive down Idaho and sometimes see those buildings? Absolutely.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I remember coming home one time and I made a joke to Leonard Hardstein, the owner of High Grade. I said, Leonard, there's so much open space here. You can raise your cows and hogs right across the street and what you
Absolutely.
at the at the shop.
Uh-huh.
And so it makes me feel that there is a turn of energy that for that energy to turn, people have to be in the right place
Yes.
at the right time,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and my mother, as my mother would say, and in the right frame of mind. Because it's one
Mm-hmm.
thing to be in the right place at the right time,
Yes, ma'am.
but if you're not in the right frame of mind,
Mm-hmm.
you won't see that the place and the time is right.
Right.
And so I think the place and the time for Pharaoh to revive is right now.
Right now.
I think
Yeah.
this is the right time.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing with this podcast, reaching out to the residents of Faro and former residents,
Yes.
because
Yes.
you don't have to be here to watch. You can just love here. And
Yes.
when I think about when my dad moved to Faro in 1950, the population of this town was 30,000.
Lord have mercy. Was
The population of Faro in the early 50s was from 25 to 30,000 people. He came here when Faro, this place was named after James A. Faro,
yes,
Right.
ma'am.
the first president of U.S. Steel. We used
Right.
to be known as South Sharon,
Right.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
right? And because of politics and taxes and corporate benefits,
Mm-hmm.
Faro became Faro after, U.S. Steel. And so my dad moved here when there was a big celebration of a Pharaoh anniversary,
Uh-huh.
1951,
The Jubilee.
the Jubilee.
Yes, ma'am.
That's right, the Pharaoh Jubilee, and it was a bustling community. And so when I think about 25, 30,000 population, where because right now Pharaoh's about what, 5,000?
Five. I was about to say.
I think it's
Yeah.
just under, yeah, I think it's last I looked, but this current census, it may be just over 52.
Yeah.
Last I was about 59, close to 5,000, 4,900.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Ooh.
so many of those families still have roots here.
Yes.
Yes.
So many of those families that have gone on are really, and we can't even say just the country, we are all over the world.
Yes.
Feral
Yes.
is
Yes.
all over the world.
Absolutely.
And so I think what you're doing is so important because you can reach people, what they call WWW stands for World Wide Web, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Right. Right.
You
Yes.
can reach people the worldwide who want to do something. And they're not sure who would I contact or, what's going on or where can I give back? So I do drive these streets and walk these streets because I'm a walker. I walk through Faro when I come home every morning.
Mm-hmm.
I walk these streets and drive these streets and think about what it could be and what can happen when we come together.
Yes.
We've seen it happen
Right.
before, and
Right.
it can happen again.
Absolutely.
And some of the footage I'm going to show in one of the videos I put together. Was one of the talent shows down in Southwest Gardens,
Wow.
and the whole community is there. It was. I showed it to my fiance Nick before, and I was editing it, and she said, "Where's this at? This Youngstown?" I said, "No, this is Fairfield, man. This is right down at the park, like Southwest Gardens."
Yeah.
And you can see the whole community was united back then, and that's something that Southwest Gardens always provided for us. It was a safe haven,
Yep.
a place to get knowledge. Like all the knowledge you just dropped on me. That's why I dropped my phone. I was about to pick my phone up and look up something, but yeah, it's incredible to
Yeah.
know that.
UNIA, Universal Negro Improvement. And so
Oh, man.
that's Marcus Garvey's organization.
Wow.
Wow.
Mr. Hyatt was the representative of that association. Yeah, and it's still going. UNIA. Marcus Garvey's grandson, is actually working right now to have the charge that he was charged with expunged from his record. His
Yeah,
grandson is
because
working on that right now.
That explains a lot about
yes,
Mr. Hyde. He used to be down there like so like with a no nonsense type of attitude with his head high,
yes,
chest stuck
proud.
out, but not playing. I said, get off that stage. If I come in here again, you're gonna be out for 2 weeks.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Mr. Hyde did not play. That explains a lot. You just brought it like to here for me
Yes.
about him. Like,
To have with Mr. Hyde, you gained a whole lot of knowledge and a work ethic and a standard.
That's right.
And that explains a lot.
Yep.
he always commanded respect too.
Yes.
That
Yes.
yeah, I'm still like
Hey,
floored by that. Like with everything you said about Mr. Hyde, I'm like, wow, and the
and you can't
organization
leave
he's
out Mr.
connected.
Ward.
No.
No.
Yeah,
Mr.
Mr.
H.
Jordan.
Ward. Yep.
Yes.
I and Mr. Ward. They were a
Yep.
dynamic duo.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking with Roberta Harden last night. We were talking about Miss Bowman, who was one of the elder black women there, who was before your time probably, but who you all may have been around enough to know as Myra McCall. She was the arts and crafts. So she ran the girls department. Mr. Ward ran the boys
The boys
department.
department.
Yeah, and she gave us a love for working with our hands.
Hmm.
She just did all sorts of arts and crafts. And Roberta and I were talking last night about our love for arts and crafts
Uh-huh.
because of what she poured into us.
Yes.
We
Yes.
got so much from the Carver Center.
Hmm. Okay.
Oh my goodness. This I knew this was gonna be a crucial interview.
Yeah.
Um
Fast shout out to
yeah.
Bubba. Thank you for always tuning in. Good morning to
Oh
you,
yeah,
my
fresh
brother.
out, Bob. How you
Good
doing?
morning
Good
to you.
morning. Good Saturday morning to you.
Bubba. Bubba Smith. Tash and the brother. Yeah, yeah. He always tunes in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Mr. John Harris. Yes, yes. Southwest Gardens, created a place. Um, Martha Richards and Rosetta Raxter, Mary Harvey, Ann Scarborough, they were, before it was fashionable, unapologetically black.
Black. Yes.
They worked and loved everybody,
Hmm.
but they understood that to do anything in community, they had to love self first.
Yes,
They
ma'am. Yes,
understood that
ma'am.
charities began at
At
home
home. Yes.
and it spread abroad.
Mhm.
So, there are people of every gender, every race, every age that called my mother mom.
Yep.
Now, my brother would get
Yep.
an attitude about it. George, good time.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good old good times.
Oh, mama, mama. But something that I came to really understand is that I know that no matter who calls her mama, I am her baby girl.
Yep. Yep.
I am the baby girl of Martha Green, Alfred Richards, and Henry Wilson Richards. Nobody calling her mama changes that.
Absolutely.
So when I got cool with
Dig
that,
it.
didn't bother me. Yeah, you can call her mom. Yeah, you can help me do some of this work too.
Dig it. Dig it. Hag share. Hag share.
I used to
Yeah.
always love the beautiful red house.
Yeah.
Beautiful
Yeah.
flowers and everything in the summertime. It would always be fun to go down there because once again you get knowledge from just learning and watching people do what they do. And
Hmm.
gardening was always
Oh
beautiful.
yeah, the garden. Yeah.
I wish I had a green thumb. Unfortunately, I didn't get that from my mama. I got the cooking down. Well, that's what I found. But gardening, nah.
Yeah, yeah, brother. You got any hot new music suggestions for in the booth for Stacks? Because I'm so ready to just hop right into
Okay.
interview
Oh yeah,
segments
we getting ready
for so you can
for
go ahead
interview.
and go ahead and get down out the way so we can hop into this,
Okay.
so you can get this
Oh yeah.
knowledge out.
Some music for you, fam. In this week's segment, in the booth for Rich Stacks, feature a few albums I think is worthy of checking out. First up on the list, we got Big Sean's new project, uh, Better Better Me Than You. Consistent project. I don't understand why Kanye got on the young man said it was one of the worst decisions he made. He was just hating because he owed him money. Okay.
Well, I missed that. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, he was on Drink
I
Champs,
gotta circle the
waiting on
wagons for
Big
that.
Sean. And secondly up, we got my man Toby Wigway. I don't want to butcher his name, but one of the dopest lyricists out there, what they call conscious rap. I could just call it rap. It's hip hop. Um,
Mm.
yeah, Foot Hymns is his project. And on the R&B tip, we have Money Love, Revenge, her new project. Pretty solid, dope project to check out. Well anticipated. And then last but not least, we have Kalani and where we wait to, where we want to.
While we wait too, boy,
I apologize. I
that
butchered that.
Bud Light tearing him up. No,
So Bud Light. Man,
I got to pick with you. That's last night's Bud Light. Ah,
Came up with that bad eyesight. That little lyric going back.
you always influence us to be artists. Yes.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the favorite part of the show, a segment we all know and love, and part of why we here. We got a special, phenomenal woman, our great guest. And Rich, I'm gonna let you give her proper just due. The doctor, Kim Richards.
Yes. Dr. Kimberley Richards is interim executive director, um, core trainer, organizer, and national organizer of the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond, PISAB, with an extensive and extremely educational community organization and anti racism training. Dr. Richards plays a crucial role in leading and coordinating PISAB's efforts to address and disseminate systemic racism. Her works involve developing, facilitating training programs, organizing national events, and providing strategic leadership and advanced organization on any mission for equity and equality. It is my indubitably honor to introduce to you Dr. Kimberly Richards.
The phenomenal woman.
Phenomenal,
That's
Dr.
right.
Kimberly.
That's
Morning,
right.
Pharaoh. I could do none of what I've done without what Pharaoh has poured into me. So, what Pharaoh has given me, my first speaking opportunities were at Friendship Baptist Church right there on Spearman Avenue. Went to Pargany Elementary School.
Bargaining
Huh?
school.
Go Pargany, yeah.
Yeah.
Went to Pargany, a group of us that were in kindergarten together.
Mhm.
Took a picture last night. You know, it's a blessing to be able to still be engaged with and have warm, loving relationships with people that you went to kindergarten with, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But Farrell is the
Yes.
kind of place
So
that can
awesome.
give you that.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, went to Farrell Junior High School. And then, and we could talk about this later, I'm happy to. I I always attend Farrell's class reunion, but I actually was the only black in my high school graduating class at Kennedy Christian. I
Mm.
actually walked across the stage at
Didn't
Kennedy.
know that.
Not yes.
Wow.
Many people don't. When I started in 1970, we were seven, but by the end of that 4 year period, I was the only one that graduated, and that's a whole story. But all of that, Pharaoh is what created the ingredients of Pharaoh for me to be the human being that I am today. So it is a pleasure to be a Pharaohite. I was just thinking this morning, I'm from Pharaoh Sippy, right?
You know, Sippy.
I'm from Pharaoh Sippy. That's because I'm the first of my parents' children born here
Mhm.
from Mississippi.
Okay.
My family migrated from Mississippi in 1950, 51, and I was born here in 1956. Uh, and guess where I live now? Mississippi. Um,
Back to the roots.
Back to the
Yep.
roots. So, growing up like many families, if it was between Mississippi, Chiraw, South
Yes,
Carolina,
Yep.
ma'am.
Yep.
right?
Yes. My mom was the
That you
last
spent.
one born in Chira.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
um, and folks from Alabama, but we were migrating. That there's a book called the Warmth of Other Suns,
Hmm.
Mhm.
and it documents the migration patterns of African Americans. And Wilt Chamberlain's family is one of the families that they document in that book. But they talk about how you wouldn't have Chicago without Mississippi because folks went straight up I-55.
Uh-huh.
You
Mm.
wouldn't have New York City without South Carolina because folks went straight up
95.
95.
Yes, ma'am.
Toni Morrison grew up in Lorraine, Ohio, because her mother caught the train up.
Uh-huh.
So there are many families who have roots in southern states. Some black families migrated north and said they were never going back. Our family was one that every year the car was in good enough
Loaded up.
shape. We got in that
Going down.
station
Yes, ma'am.
wagon
Going down.
and we went down and
Hmm.
we came back with all the butter beans, the
Yeah, I was
blackfish,
just going to
Yes.
say
the
that.
cucumbers, and
Sausage and all that
Sausage.
stuff.
all that
Yeah.
Spicy sausage.
Uh-huh.
that's right.
Yep.
Oh,
We
Yep.
came back
yes,
with it.
ma'am.
So,
A little bit of moonshine. Salt.
It's true.
I,
Fix it right now.
oh, you had to pack the brown paper bag with the chicken. You had to have that brown paper bag of
Because you
chicken.
couldn't stop everywhere and eat.
Mhm.
You know, you couldn't stop everywhere.
Right, right.
So
Safety
you
reasons.
had chicken, you had pound cake,
Yep.
you had cold drinks, pop
Mhm.
that we had put in the freezer,
Yes, ma'am.
wrapped in tin foil, so it
Mhm.
could stay cold as long as it.
Yep. Yep.
Yes, yes.
You didn't have
Resourceful.
room
Right,
for you had people.
Yep.
right.
Cooler, you didn't have no pop in there. You had some catfish in there.
Yep.
You had some beans, a field peas
Yep,
in there, right?
yep. Prioritize the
So
space.
yeah, I'm a proud Pharaohite, and a proud Mississippiite. So both run through my veins.
Richard likes to call us
Really.
Farillians.
Yeah. Yeah.
Made that up. I'm a Farillian.
I'm a
Really.
proud Farillian.
Really.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Some t-shirts.
Huh.
That's coming up.
It's in the works. It's in the works.
Farillian.
Farillians. That's right. What inspired you to join the People's Institution for Survival and Beyond?
My family, the organizing that I saw my mother and father do. So my family migrated from Mississippi because my dad wanted to open a dry cleaners. So he was the owner of Richards Dry Cleaners on Idaho. I think 901 was the address, Idaho. So if those of you think about open spaces where Community Baptist Church is, if you're traveling up Idaho, you go past that church, that open field is where his dry cleaning was a brown, a gold, a blonde brick building.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It was next to Mr. Miller's barber shop, I believe,
I know what you're talking about.
and the gym, the boxing gym.
That's
I
correct.
remember that.
Talking about.
And had a dry cleaners there.
Wow.
Box cleaners.
That's right. So his dream was to start that business, and so my mother operated Martha's Beauty Salon in our home at 400 Dar, and I saw the two of them. They didn't want to work for, they wanted to work for themselves.
Yes.
Mhm.
They didn't want to work for anybody. They were creative like the two of you.
Young entrepreneurs
Young
early.
entrepreneurs, that's right. And so I saw the sacrifices that they made. I saw the organizing that they did.
Mhm.
That, when my mother would be working with women, shampooing their hair, styling their hair, as we say, getting their hair did,
Hmm. Getting did up.
getting did up. It was much more than just getting their hair done, right?
Yeah.
She was counseling,
Yep.
she was praying,
Yep.
she was elevating hopes and dreams, she was pouring into. And so I think that's a part of what really grounded and rooted her in Pharaoh, not being,
Mhm.
born here. She says from a little girl, she always wanted to be a missionary. And her mother opened the back door and said, "You don't have to travel the world. Look out your back door."
Mm.
And so my mother came to Pharaoh and did that. And, she was inspired by people like Mabel Bruce, Louise Ponder, Oscar Singletary, Violet Crowder, Catherine Flint. These are women in the community that were active in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s in Farrell
Mhm.
who were organizing. So I have grown up, Lamont, around men and women. John Summers used to volunteer with my dad. He would drive through Steel City and Market Street projects and pick up people's clothes. He offered pickup and delivery for poor people
Wow.
who didn't have to pay a delivery fee. He was helping my father build his business. My father didn't give him a dime for gas money. That same John Summers, when my mother was in what you all know as the park,
Hmm.
used to be an open field where we get switches from.
Oh man.
It's where we'd have to go get off that.
Know about them switches. Oh
All right.
gosh.
And Mama would get one and stick it in the corner so it had to be seasoned. She
Yeah.
didn't want a green one. She wanted one that had been seasoned.
Right. Oh Lord.
So she would get one of those, and so she would first started out just cleaning up the park, the field. It wasn't a park. And that same John Summers would work over there in that field, clearing the land to give us a place to play.
Wow.
Saw that. I saw, Richard, what would happen when people come together to take a stand, to stand on what they believe. and to believe in each other and to love on each other
Yes.
in ways that they could make it better for the next generation. So I come up around organizers, my family. I mean, for us as Black people to get anything in this country, we've had to organize.
Yes.
Right.
We had to organize to be able to hold a book. We had to organize to be able to go to school. We had to organize to be seen, and we continue to have to organize to be seen as a full human being.
Yes.
Yes.
So when I was a classroom teacher in New Orleans, I moved to New Orleans in 1986.
Mhm.
Allende, my youngest son, was 6 months old. Um, and I was teaching, and they always put new teachers in the most difficult
Oh, classes. Yes.
schools and classrooms.
Mhm.
And I was teaching in the largest public housing development in New Orleans, the Desire Project. There are all kind of books and stuff written on Desire. The Black Panther Party had a big uh, presence in the Desire Project. Streetcar named Desire. Yeah, because there's a lot I could say
Yeah.
about that. But I was teaching there, and a friend of mine knew about the People's Institute. And so she said, I want you to come to this workshop.
Mhm.
About racism. I said, girl, I've been Black all my life.
Yes.
I don't need to go to no racism workshop.
Right.
And she never gave up on me. Kanika Taylor, this dear friend with her today. She's been to Pharaoh many times.
Kept leaning on you, huh?
Yep, she
Yep.
did. And so, Lamont, I ran out of excuses.
Mhm.
Like there was not. I said, okay, I'll go. When I went to that workshop, Richard, it provided a language for my lived experience.
Yep.
Mm.
It provided an analysis of, how it is sometimes where we as Black people we want to make a difference.
Yes.
Right.
We want to come together. We want to fight an injustice, and we start fighting each other.
Yes.
Have you seen
Seen it.
that?
Seen it
Yes.
plenty of times because
Too many
it
times.
should be done this way. No, it should be done this. Yeah, not prioritizing
People's
the
egos
main
get
thing.
involved.
Yeah.
That's what we need to
Too
do.
long
Yeah.
Yeah.
that we agreed that you was only supposed to talk 5 minutes, and you took a
Yeah.
whole seven.
Focus on the wrong stuff.
We focus.
Yeah.
And so the co-founder of there are two, the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond, was founded by two African American men,
Yes.
Mm.
Ronald Chisholm, who
That's right.
still lives. Actually, he and I were finishing up his book,
And Dr. Bill.
and Dr. Jim Dunn,
Jim.
James Norman Dunn.
That's right.
And so Ron was working in New Orleans in the Treme, and you all may remember that HBO series Treme.
Yeah.
The, the with the accent of Louisiana, it's pronounced Treme.
Oh, okay.
The Treme, he was working in that, working with cultural bearers, musicians, second line, um, social and pleasure club leaders, and he was seeing this injustice, the same injustices that we see in Pharaoh.
Hmm.
And so he wanted to make a difference. And he wanted to understand, why is it that when we go downtown to fight for justice, fight for our rights, we start fighting each other. And so he wanted to bring people together to understand why that happens and how we can be more effective in our organizing. And so he came to really understand that institutions and systems do three things: they develop policies
Hmm.
that create an injustice
Mm.
and create a need and create a pathology. And the pathology that systems and institutions create. I mean, we live in a country that foundationally says that we're three-fifths of a human being.
Exactly.
Yes. Yep.
So that creates a pathology in us that says we are what?
Lesser.
Less
Lesser than.
Yep.
than.
Yeah.
Correct.
Naturally, yeah.
And so if we internalize a message that we are less than, if every system and institution is built on an understanding of who is fully human,
Mhm.
because what did they call recognizing that slavery has been practiced the world over?
Yes.
Right.
This in this country is not the first time, but this is the only place it has been called the peculiar institution.
Yes.
do you think they would call slavery here the peculiar institution?
Because if it wasn't for slavery, the nation wouldn't have had the wealth that they currently have right now.
That's a byproduct of it. But the reason it's called the peculiar institution is no place else where slavery was practiced, Lamont, were people separated from the human family.
Yes.
We were chattel. We were counted with the hogs and the goats
Yep.
and the
Yep.
pigs.
Pitiful.
We were property and not no place else where people made property were
Exactly.
made inhuman. So that's what made it the peculiar institution. And that peculiarity
Hmm.
creates a pathology.
Hmm.
Because if I look at you and you look just like me, I already don't like me
Me.
because every system and institution has told me that I am less than. I am less than human. I am three-fifths of a human being.
Yeah.
Then that creates a pathology that we call internalized racial oppression. And internalized racial oppression, one of the things I've learned about it is that, we internalize breakfast, right?
Yes.
Breakfast starts where? Outside of you, right? And so there's a message about who we are that we didn't create,
Hmm.
but that it started outside of us. So if
It's
you go to a
falsely educated.
restaurant, there's a menu.
Yeah.
You don't have anything to do with what's on that menu. You can only make your selection from what's on
What's on
that
that
menu.
menu?
Right.
If that restaurant don't sell catfish, you cannot demand that they serve you catfish. So there was a menu. I used to jump rope to a little thing that said, if you're white, you're all right.
Mm.
If you're brown, stick around. But if you're black,
Yeah.
get back. Now that's a poem by Langston Hughes that
Mm.
we don't even know the full poem. Langston Hughes didn't have control of the literary world.
Hmm.
And so the full poem goes, if you're white, you're all right. Every system and institution tells us that, right? If you're
Hmm.
brown, stick around.
Yeah.
But if you're black, get back.
Get
But the
back.
full poem goes, and if you believe that, Jack, for you a dope, and there ain't no hope, because black is and thank God it's mine. But because he didn't have control of the literary world, we don't know the other half of that
Yes,
poem.
ma'am.
So as a little
Wow.
girl growing up, I didn't jump rope to that part. I only jumped rope to the first part, right?
Uh-huh.
And so if I'm internalizing that if you're brown, stick around, but if you're black, get back, then we see colorism in our own community, right?
Hmm.
We see colorism. We see the lighter you are, you're seen as more what?
Accepted.
More
Yep.
accepted,
Desired.
more desired, more intelligent,
Yep.
Yeah.
right? Because one thing about the concept of race, it tells us who is more civilized,
Hmm.
who is more beautiful, and who is most intelligent.
Yes.
And so we receive a menu at birth
Hmm.
that tells us we are not intelligent. And there's a whole narrative around Africa. There's a whole narrative around our abilities, our civilizations.
Yep.
Timbuktu, the world came to Timbuktu, or Mali,
Yes.
but we don't hear about Timbuktu,
Not at
right?
all.
But when
Nope.
you came to Southwest Garden, you saw pictures of Timbuktu on the wall,
Exactly.
right?
And I was
And
always
yes.
interested in
Yes.
to ask questions.
Yes, yes, you did.
You gotta have knowledge of self.
We were all, we have to ask why the noses were blown off of the pyramids.
Right.
They didn't want us to know.
They didn't want us to know
Nope.
their noses look like our noses,
Yep.
right? Which is a beautiful thing,
Mhm.
you
Absolutely.
know. And that why did Elizabeth Taylor play
Clay Cleopatra.
when Elizabeth Taylor did not look like Cleopatra? Cleopatra
No.
looked more like us
Yeah.
than Elizabeth Taylor.
Hmm.
But if you're saying what the standard of Cleopatra represents the standard of beauty, of course it
Hmm.
wouldn't be Alfred Woodard
Exactly.
or Kerry Washington
Yes.
or any of the other actresses who are beautiful and black.
Right.
So our organization, the People's Institute, was founded to help see how we could be more effective in our organizing, but to see how the racialization process is a dehumanizing process. Because when our ancestors came here, we weren't black. We were Igbo, we were Fulani, we were Hausa. We were identified by the ethnicity, by our nation state, right?
Hmm.
When Europeans came to this country, they weren't considered white.
No.
They were French, German, Italian. All you
Right.
gotta do is
Right.
walk across.
Right.
You got the German home, the
Sylvanian home.
Yep.
Italian home,
Yep.
the
Yep.
Serbian club, the Slovak home, right?
We always say that about our community when talking about you know, when out and about and hearing people talk about racism and this and that, and they talk about the Pharaoh people, and I always correct them. Hold up, hold up. I ride through a couple communities in Archenango Valley, and I don't see no other community with an Italian home, a Slovak home,
Exactly.
or German. Don't go there. Don't go there. Pharaoh is not like
True.
that. We're not like the West Middlesex
Uh-uh.
or the Sharpsvilles, where they only like their kind. Yeah, I say that
Yeah.
because that's a known fact. You know
Pharaoh,
what I mean? We don't turn our nose up to the skin.
no.
One thing we turn our nose up is to, if you ain't supporting that blue and gold, then we got a problem. So
Yeah.
we got a problem with.
Right.
Pharaoh's almost a microcosm of the country.
Yes, it is.
It's a microcosm of
It was one of the
United
most
States.
beautiful things to grow up in.
Yep.
And I saw it at the class reunion last night. We were it was black and white.
Mhm.
You know, when at the time that I came up, many people around the country didn't have the kind of integration even of neighborhoods, that they were much more segregated than Pharaoh was.
Impressive.
Right? Pharaoh was
Yes.
extremely, because it was a place that people from Europe could celebrate culturally who they were
Hmm.
and not have to totally strip away in exchange for whiteness.
Hmm.
So there's a process of becoming white. And in this country, that process means let go of your language, let go of your culture, let go of your tradition.
Yes, ma'am.
There's the fallacy of the melting pot,
Uh-huh.
which is a fallacy.
Mm,
And some
yes.
people now say salad bowl, but we shouldn't give up any of who we are to be. This is a nation of immigrants.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons why the Twin City Elks was such a place of pride, because you had because these homes were settlement homes.
Hmm.
As Europeans were coming to this country, they needed a place, for black people, it was your neighbor had a spare room. You came up and stayed in that room
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
until you got a job and
Got
got
on
on
your
your
feet.
feet. And then
Yes,
you
ma'am.
got a place, and then somebody else came and
Right.
stayed with you.
Yep.
Well, these homes for Europeans were homes for them
Mm.
to get on their feet
Right.
and to learn English and to learn new customs while holding on to their own customs. Nothing's wrong with that. That should be celebrated. The
Right.
Elks became that home for us, a
Great.
place that we could be shared traditions of, masonry. My dad was a
Yep.
33-degree Mason,
Hmm.
where black men could support each other
Hmm.
and nurture each other and help lift each other's ideas.
Phenomenal.
So, seeing all that organizing, going to the workshop, learning these concepts that, as I say, were in me, I just didn't have a language for it. I was automatically attracted to the Institute.
Mm.
It's just such a wealth of knowledge. How would you advise someone trying to start and do projects of organizing and fighting against speaking truth to justice? What would what would you recommend be one of the most essential skills that you need?
One, I would say to be a deep listener, to listen deeply to yourself, um, to confide in yourself, and to have confidence, to respect yourself,
Hmm.
to listen to yourself, to respect yourself, to have confidence, to be disciplined. To be a disciple is to be disciplined,
Hmm.
um, and to love people. To really to love. A lot of people do this work out of anger or frustration, but so many. My mother did her work out of a deep love for people, a deep love for Pharaoh, to learn from history, to know history and learn from history. History is so important.
Yes.
Our elders have always said, if you don't know where you've been, any road will take you where you're going. But to truly know history, to recognize that racism is alive and well,
Yes, ma'am.
and it helps make us ineffective when we don't acknowledge it.
Hmm.
We live in a race based society,
Yeah.
yet it's one of the things that we as society don't know how to talk about. that every indicator of quality of life in this country and in this city, you can determine the outcomes based on race.
Yes.
Every indicator of quality of life,
Right.
be it employment, be it education, be it longevity, be it infant mortality or adult mortality, every indicator. So we have to either say something is wrong with us, which I fundamentally believe is not true,
Exactly.
or the system is designed in a way that would allow a January 6th to happen.
Happens. Yeah.
The
Right.
Insurrection.
system is designed in a
Yeah,
way
that was a whole
that you
mess.
know that if the two of you had organized 100 black men to go to Mercer,
Hmm. They would
I'm
have
not even
dropped a
talking
bomb
about
in our
I'm not
house.
I'm not talking about going to DC.
Right.
The outcome
Yeah.
would have been different.
That, oh my
So we
Yeah.
gosh.
have to, as organizers, be clear about race. The late Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, I often quote her.
Mhm.
She used to say, we live in such a race based society that if you take every letter that you use to spell the word America, America, Lamont, those letters will also give you the phrase, I am race.
Dang.
Every letter,
Wow.
every letter.
Wow.
IAMRACE.
Mhm.
You scramble those letters up, you get AMERICA. We are a nation built
On
on the
race.
imposition of the ideology.
Hmm.
And I say the imposition of an ideology because, see, we've not always had the concept of race.
No.
As you think about ancient texts, be it the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the any traditions, you don't have people defined by race.
Mm,
Not at all.
mm,
What are people defined by in
By
those
their
ancient texts?
region
By
or
their geography,
yes.
by
Yes.
their occupation. They
right.
were carpenters.
Or
They were
their last name, their
by
family
their
lineage.
family name,
Yeah.
not race.
Not at all.
Race is as we think about human antiquity, race is only about 500 years old.
Mm,
So people have not always been defined by race.
mm,
Each race was made in order to classify,
Correct.
organize people,
Correct.
because a certain group of people wanted all the power and the control. So the best way to do that is to divide and conquer, make them argue amongst ourselves. We'll take whatever we want, and they won't even worry about it
We
because they don't
define
know.
race as a specious classification system,
Yes,
not species, but species.
yes,
The word specious means it appears to be true,
hmm,
but is in fact false.
false.
It comes from the word, the etymology of the word is suspect.
yeah,
Hmm.
okay.
So the same root word in
Used to
Latin.
always say that. That's sus. That's sus.
Uh-huh.
I
Yes,
got that suspect.
That's
That's
and
suspect.
suspect.
That's
now you see the meaning in it.
specious.
And I like how you broke that America down. That was some true. You was a soul train a night on Saturday. Wait, that was the word. What's this? That was some true like soul train
Soul
unscripted
Train
stuff.
music.
I
Boy.
love that. Yeah. No. Oh man, I never. Thank you for enlightening
Yes,
and bringing so much wealth of knowledge to the show today. Oh my gosh. Earlier in speaking, you were saying about Southwest Gardens. I mean, the park itself. Mr. John Summers
Yeah.
and your
yes.
mom just went over there and just so it was a field and they just she
Real.
just started taking care of it. He joined,
Yes.
and then how did it come to be? How did that just go from a field to okay, we're getting we're putting equipment up over here and it's going to be a park and all. How can you?
Well, it came through organizing. So back in the early 70s, the city of Farrell was seeking to they developed what they called a blue ribbon task force,
Mhm.
and they were going to get some money to, like they're doing the street and
Right,
infrastructure
right.
improvements.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
They were identifying what part of Farrell they were going to make some investments in. And so my mother and several other residents were on this blue ribbon task force. And each of the neighborhoods were making a pitch
Mm-hmm.
for why the improvements should be in their neighborhood. And the area of Dar Avenue, Spearman Avenue, Wallace Avenue was determined to not be one of the areas.
Huh?
that they were going to make an investment in. They were going to do work more up. We talk about Pharaoh up on the hill.
Right,
Yep.
right, right.
Yep.
Yeah, Romer and all. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Sinango.
it really angered and inspired my mother to say, we don't have to depend on the city to beautify our neighborhood.
Do for self.
We are the ones that live here. We're the ones that raise our children here. We're the ones that love this community. So let us start picking up trash. Let us start seeing who owns some of these houses that have been abandoned
Mm-hmm.
and create an eyesore in
Mhm.
our community. And they started organizing. And so they went to the state of, went to Harrisburg and petitioned for the park. Uh, they put a lot of sweat equity in. Lamont, it's so funny. The folder that has the history of Southwest Gardens Park, I looked at this morning, and I would like to be able to make a copy of that available to the two of you
Oh,
because there are so many people
Dope.
in the community whose names, when you start calling names, you go home and you say, "Oh wow, I should have called this name or that way."
uh,
Aaron Smith.
you say charge it to my head, not my
Not
heart.
George
So you know
Carlin.
what I mean?
That's right.
Right.
But it's actually something that when I retire, I really want to do, and that is I love archives
Mm-hmm.
and records because if I'm saying that what's important for you as an organizer, Rich, is to know history,
Mhm.
then it's my responsibility to make sure that you all have the history.
Yes.
Because I've never been a person to badmouth young people
Mm-hmm.
because young people have adult examples.
Right.
And if adults have not been pouring into young people, whose fault is it? Is it the young person's?
No.
And so if I'm saying history is important, then we have to make sure that's why the work that Roland Barksdale Hall is doing at the Farrell Public Library is
Yeah,
so
yes,
So
it
important.
is.
yes.
It
That's
is.
why
It
Roland's work
is.
is so important because he and Milton Wilson,
Yes.
they're
Yes.
making sure that the library is it's a resource
Yes.
that we can draw from to have our own history.
Yes.
And so that's something that I want to do is make these archives that assembling together. But yeah, they cleaned up the park. John Summers would cut the park. This was before any money was involved.
Man.
This was after his job. This
Uh-huh.
was after he worked. And
Right.
and and then they would get support Almeda James, Rudy James, Sarah Quarles, who lived across the street.
Sacrifice.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah.
Mm.
Knowing that what you do now will leave a legacy, will
Still to
pour
this
into the
day.
next generation, and that what you're doing is so much greater than you as an individual.
Right.
So, my parents were also involved with Boshi Wells and Levon Barlow and Tim Chapman,
Wow.
bowling leagues,
Wow.
in bowling leagues. So there were three. There was the Shenango Valley 10 pin, there was Hits and Misses. There was the Ebonites.
Mm.
Yeah, the Ebonites was a all black women's swimming league.
Hey, I like that.
The Ebonites, yeah.
I like that too.
Betty Marshall was one of
Okay.
the leaders of the
Okay.
Ebonites, and she's still living in bowling. Almeda James was a
Mhm.
part of that, still living here in the valley. Hits and Misses was a league they had. I like that name too.
Hits
Oh,
and
yeah, that's
misses.
nice. I
Yeah,
like that.
Hits and Misses. Shenango Valley 10 pin. And so I'm lifting up these groups because this was organized sport.
Mhm.
They would bowl at Sunset.
Hmm.
They would bowl in Sharpsville at Thornton Hall.
Two
They
legendary
Yes.
bowling alleys are
yes.
still a staple in their
They would
communities.
bowl at Shenango Valley 10 pin. I think it's what they call the one in Hermitage.
Yes.
Okay.
10
But
pin
they
alley.
Yep,
had
yep, they,
yep,
right,
10 pin alley.
Right.
Yep.
yep.
They had leagues at all three of those. And so when you've got a bowling league, you've got organized people
Uh-huh.
who are coming together, who are building trust
Yes.
because you got to pay your dues. You got to keep the score. You got to keep the tab.
Yeah.
So you're building
Right.
trust, right?
Right.
And so people are given an opportunity to show themselves as trustworthy,
Mhm.
show themselves as someone you can depend on.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how my parents got to know John Summers. When my dad passed away, it was members of the bowling league, Becky Gordon, God rest her soul, Becky Gordon and Almeda James. My dad was at Roswell up in Rochester, New York.
Okay.
Every weekend, somebody from my mother didn't drive, if you can believe that, but because she was everywhere, but she never drove.
Mm-hmm.
But people in the community, Becky Gordon
Yeah.
and Mr. and Mrs. James, Aunt Meat, um, Juanita Boatner, Sam Boatner. These are all people that they were organizing with, and it wasn't just organizing for work; it was organizing to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
But through having that good time, they then also worked and they built relationships.
Mhm.
So that's something that's important for an organizer to really build relationships with people.
You got to be able to communicate on different levels with different
That's right.
individuals and be able to deal with personality clashes.
Yes.
Yes, that's truly an integral skill. I think my man Mark P
In fact,
is
shout out to
definitely
one of our another organizer, Patrice Lee,
yes,
who consistently and has consistently for 8 years straight, along with Dion Brody, Marquis Lampkins,
Lampkins.
Mike, and a plethora of others. Thank you for putting together the book bag drives, but she's also a phenomenal organizer.
Yes,
And Patrice, yes, once Miss Kim's turns over some of this stuff to us, of course, we will find a way to put it out to the public and let people see and
yes,
find a way to put it on display because it so much deserves to be celebrated and noted. And the people that was also attached with all the great doings should be recognized as
Yes.
well. And we're going to make sure it does get recognized. And yeah, thank you.
Morning, Patrice. Patrice was a part of the Southwest Gardens drill team. Patrice organized young people. Patrice made sure. So it's just so good to see that the
That
things
explains
that
a
were,
lot
yeah,
then.
Patrice was a part of the drill team. Patrice was one of my Southwest Gardens babies.
City P.
Yes, yes. So shout out to you, Patrice. Keep up your good work. I know you're doing organizing in the community, and I would love for you to see the folder.
oh yeah. I think when you get good knowledge and information, your job and duty is to disseminate that information and get it out there to the
Yes,
people.
yes.
Um, it's been an honor with this interview. I wanted to before we get too far, you want to show the footage at a
Oh,
talent show?
yeah, yeah. We're gonna show the footage, and when we come back from showing the footage, will have a lovely gift to present to you. But
Yes,
thank you so
for
much
all of this knowledge.
for opening the doors for us to also have parties down there. And
Yes,
want to apologize for the fights that we had down there a couple of times from jumping on the out of town cats. We ain't mean it, but we had to defend our set. You know what I mean? Back day, we ain't tear it up too bad.
You didn't tear it up too bad, and we didn't put you out either.
That's
nope.
right. And we was always allowed to come back week
Always.
after. So yeah, we was
Definitely.
protectors of our neighborhood.
That's right. That's
Yes,
right.
yeah. And
No, we were happy to have the parties. That, one of the things that my mother always said is that when you've got young people involved, you've got life.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
she always wanted young people to know that Southwest Gardens was a home, was a safe place,
Yes.
was a place that you could identify with,
Mhm.
and that we loved you. And we still do.
and when I became an adult, I didn't like well, reporting that was about as big as this room here. You know what I mean? So I'm like,
But it was
to
so
go
huge
back and look
because
at it like it's so seemed like it was a big hall. But yeah, we used to have that place
it was some of
be
the
jam packed.
Yes.
best
My
parties ever.
God.
Music right now, and I said, "Oh, I got 1996 West Garden."
Mm.
Yeah, you all kept me sane when I was working on my doctorate at Pitt because I was doing those parties and in graduate school. But when I came back to Farrell, it grounded me in a way that all the stuff from the Ivy Tower that can sometimes take you out of yourself,
Yep.
I knew I had home and I had y'all to come back to. And y'all were going to keep me straight. Not straight, but straight.
Yeah. So if you want to show the footage from the past talent shows that we used to have down at
And
Southwest Gardens in the Park.
yeah, fat shout out to Isaac Chapman. I got this footage from Isaac's video that he posted on YouTube.
Yeah, one of the kings of the talent
Yes.
shows. Ike used to be in so many different sets and all that stuff. So here we go. At Southwest Gardens raised a lot of us, kept us, and everything. So, we have guests on. We like to present them with gifts, appreciation, and as always, we're keeping in with that, our tradition. We have something for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. May I open it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Show
So
the people
during
what you
this
got.
time, we usually ask, if you can go back in a time machine and go speak to your 16-year-old self, what would be one of the things, knowing what you know now, that you would tell yourself?
Say less.
That's you.
I love it. Oh, thank you. What would I say to my 16-year-old self? That's a great question. Oh, the Pharaoh podcast.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna wear it today. Proudly.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you. It's matching. Boom
Yes.
bows.
I came ready
Yes,
for the
Armstrong.
Pharaoh Pet podcast. I would tell my 16-year-old self to believe in yourself.
Hmm.
I would tell her that the grass is not always greener on the other side. To really take what you have, embrace it, and share it with the world. Yeah. But to really just fundamentally believe in yourself. Yeah, that's what I would tell her.
That's great advice because without the inspiration that you guys provided for us when we were younger, like you said, you made it a safe place to come to and party and learn a lot that was integral in the future in the development of children. I'm gonna leave you with this. I thank you sincerely for making me aware and love who I am and where I come from. You instilled that in a whole generation of children down there at Southwest Gardens. And that's what I'm just trying to put out there in this atmosphere.
Yes.
In these times, we need to know who we are.
Yes.
And we can't let anybody else define who we are.
Yes.
And it's our job and obligation to teach that to the next generation.
Thank you,
And
Richard.
I, Miss Kim, I wanted to thank you and tell you that I genuinely, for real, love you from the
Yes.
bottom of my heart. And I thank you and appreciate you for not only having, a safe spot for us to come party, like I mentioned to you uh, beforehand to get you to come onto the show. It was a time when my grandmother
Yes.
and my mom was working down there, and they brought me and my brother along with them when they was the dentist center
Yep.
down there, and they was cleaning. So we was able to go with them, and and still having a job and performing real live job duties. So you were an integral part in instilling some strong values within me, and I greatly appreciate you. I thank you, and I love you from the bottom of my heart, and I genuinely do for real, So
Yes.
I'm getting choked up for real because it's real, genuine love. We love you, and I say that for all of us, for all the generations, young men and young women. You opened up the door for Southwest Gardens and was there for us as our community, and still there for our kids, as in Southwest Gardens Park, to be able to still go over there, hit the slide for the kids that live in Steel City.
Yes.
When I lived in Steel City, that park was there for me to go to before I went to the
Yep.
center. So thank you, and I know I speak for the rest of us in our community when I say thank you. We greatly appreciate you, your mother, and everybody that helped create and put together Southwest Gardens for us. So I could not thank you enough. If I had 1,000 tongues, I could never thank you enough for nobody in this community for what you have brought to our community. So we thank you.
Well, it's truly been
Greatly
an honor
appreciate
to
you.
be here with you. Thank you both for your love.
Mm.
Thank you for your love in action. Thank you for what you do. And know that if there's anything that I can do, that our family can do to support your efforts, I'm a Farillian.
Yes, ma'am.
Forever.
Right.
Really.
Brilliant. Ever.
Forever for real.
Ever for brilliant.
Yes.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
so we want to support you. And it's so good to see your son here operating the technical work, that he would come to Southwest Gardens and be in that computer lab, and to see how that has grown and
Yes.
flourished is just a testament to your values and your character
Thank you.
and your principles. So you all make us proud. Thank
Thank
you.
you for the
Thank
thank you
you.
for the kind words.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's
That's right.
right.
That's right. MP24 played the drum. See, so see that you helped bring and plant a lot of seeds in my son. See, I didn't even know that because you didn't know that.
Team.
Yep.
But he does beats now. So yes, ma'am. So like you planted a lot of seeds and didn't even know
I
he's
need to give
musically
you that
tuned
one
in.
drum we have left from
Yeah,
Southwest Gardens. Sure.
Well,
yeah, he wants the drum.
Need to bring it when I bring in
Yeah, okay.
the TNT. I haven't forgotten. I made a
okay.
commitment for the TNT 8 track
Wow.
uh, and the drum. I'm gonna bring them here today.
Wow. Okay.
We
Awesome.
honestly
Yes,
appreciate you from the bottom of our hearts. Like, it's sincerely an honor to have you on the show.
it is felt. It is truly felt.
And before we get out of here, I'm gonna have my son Mark. Could you put up the information to where people can donate to the doctors organization,
Yep.
the People's Institution for Survival and Beyond? Here's the information right here in front of your face to where you can donate to the organization to help and make a difference to continue on the road of excellence on this journey that she's on.
What I would like think that's very kind. What I would like to say is we do a 2.5 day workshop.
Mhm.
I would like any donation that anyone would make to be toward us being able to do that workshop right here in Farrell on undoing racism slash community organizing.
That would be
I would
Well,
donate my time to come back, and I could get a couple other because we travel in teams of three.
good. Hmm.
But I would like for us to donate to you and your efforts here, that you assemble Treese
Yes.
and other organizers that she's
uh,
working with
Okay.
and you all are working with. And if you can tell me what either Saturday and Sunday, because we would need 6 hours each day
Okay.
to do a workshop,
Okay.
that I would want any donation to go toward the holding of that workshop to pay
Okay.
for the lunch.
Okay.
I'm going to donate my time and my coming up here. And
Okay.
I'll get the other person to do that as well. So I thank you for the offer to donate to our organization, but
Mhm.
I would like for our organization to donate to support the work that you all are doing.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We're gonna have to
You're gonna make
get
this.
together, communicate, and make that thing, bring it to fruition.
Yes,
Yes.
That's right. And Patrice, we're bringing you on board. That's
Yeah,
right.
you
You
got
heard that.
definitely
You
got to
know,
be a part of
Hag
this one.
said,
yes,
Hag said,
Yes.
another phenomenal woman. So
yes.
we're gonna make that happen.
Yep.
Definitely.
Got
Most
to.
definitely. Most definitely. Well, Miss Kim, the great doctor. We're gonna wrap it on up and let you get out of here so you can go get some rest for the 1974 50th class reunion extravaganza
Yes,
tonight.
sir.
Yes.
You know, to wrap up the wonderful weekend you guys been having. But once again, we thank you for coming on. We love you. We appreciate you.
Yes.
And may God continue to bless you and everything you attach to abundantly
Indeed.
daily.
And thank you for being a testament to true Black excellence.
Thank you.
Greatly
Well,
appreciate
we reflect each other.
it. Thank you.
We reflect each other.
That's right.
What you always say, Mike?
Power to the people. When you
When you
see
see
me,
me,
you
you
see
see you.
you.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all. This has been the Pharaoh
Thank you.
Podcast, episode 16, season 2. We out, bro.
And we out. Thank you for
One love always.
Yes.
peace out. Love y'all.
Boom, there it is.